rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to the village board meeting on March 13th, 2023. Roll call.
Caparos.
Here.
Possession.
Here.
Giannotti.
Here.
Thierry.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Kraus.
Here.
You've got minutes in your packet from the last board meeting. If there are no changes, we have a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Caparos.
Abstain.
Possession.
Yes.
Giannotti.
Yes.
Thierry.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to quickly move ahead a little bit. We are going to present an oath of office for a new part-time officer, David Garza. So,
It's my pleasure to introduce David. David lives in town, he's 29 years old, we're really happy to have him. His father, Elmer, is the head of the Secretary of State Police, lives in town as well. And I think half the people here are here for...
I hope so, it's going to be a long time. Push that chair out of the way too, will you, Joe?
We're at it, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
It's like a well-oiled machine. We've done this a couple of times, yeah. The invisible trustee might have done
Ready? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, David Garza,
I, David Garza,
having been appointed to the position of police officer
having been appointed to the position of police officer
in the village of Beecher,
in the village of Beecher,
in the county of Will,
in the county of Will,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of police officer
of the position of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
You're official. Police officers.
Here, you get all the officers in here?
Are you gonna have a pinning too, chief, or not? He's not wearing a badge, you gonna do a pinning?
Oh, yeah, forgot.
All right, that's another photo op.
yeah, there you go.
Joseph. All right.
All right, one more with Elmer and his son, hold it. There you go. All right.
Yeah, he is. The homeless guy there too.
Is anybody on the street?
I am the homeless guy.
Something else to tell you.
You go back to state line now, Roger. You go back to state line now.
I actually have to go to Chicago now.
So funny because I didn't even recognize
That's why he looking home. We always use them.
You guys don't have to hang out there.
Thanks, guys, thanks for coming.
Well, Dan, you stay, but you don't have to.
Yeah, but bring some empty.
Right here. Move back to our seat.
Spread out a little more room now.
We're silhouette, so you can put all those chairs back there.
He's already got his little sign. These meetings, I might get that out.
Congratulations.
That's the younger version.
I'm afraid to, because then I won't make it more than 15 minutes, and it'll be, you run down the road. Say, go ahead, adjourn for a short recess.
I just gotta remember to walk back.
Thank you, sir. Just like that. Not in circumstance.
Okay. Under recognition of audience, we're going to start with Jack Gam from the school district. He wants to address us.
These trustee meetings go just how as well as those chairs came in and out of that room. You guys are doing great. So hopefully you brought your reading glasses. I apologize. When I put 6 slides together, I didn't realize how small it's going to be. If you want a bigger version of it, you can just go on the website. I'm here just to kind of let you guys know and your audience know that the village... I thought all those guys were already here. The school board did put a referendum on the April 4th ballot for the limiting rate. That limiting rate currently is at $4.85 projected for FY22. This would be for the FY24 limiting rate to be $5.35. What would that cost an average homeowner? Mr. Barber provided me the stat that the average home EAV in Beecher is $235,000. So at the 2022 rate, the average household would see a $1.07 a day raise. Just for comparison's sake, if you go to the Circle K, you can get a car wash for $1 a day. If you have a medium-sized cup of coffee instead of a large cup of coffee every day, you've now paid for your increase in taxes. So that's what the school district is asking for. The limiting rate goes directly back to operating costs. This is not a project. This is not any kind of bond. We're not looking to borrow money against anything. This is straight back into the operating costs to help pay for teachers, operations, management, transportation, things like that, the day-to-day needs of the school district. Because as you may or may not know, the school district has been deficit spending for the last few years. I understand there have been some very needed large projects that have come down the line. This is not to recoup our revenue. So those are some of the common questions I'm getting from the community. This is not a pad the reserves again. That's not what this is about. In reality, what we're looking for is to get us back into the black, hopefully in 2 years, which is FY25. That is my goal as a superintendent of 200U, and whether that be through the referendum or through additional cuts that may be required to get us back into the black. So.
And a substantial portion of your tax rate is coming off because the junior high bonds are paid off, correct?
Yes, sir. So right now, if you guys look at your tax statement, it was 607. Your next levy is at 45, so you lost 116 already off of that levy. So that was the 607 was not your limiting rate. It was lower than that, yes.
Yes, and then of that 116, how much are you asking for?
So if it's at 45 right now, we're going for 535, so that's an additional 50 cents.
So 50 cents is $1.16. So your taxes, in theory, the school tax would still come down by 70 cents.
Compared to what it was in last year, not yes.
Right.
So I don't want to put a false disclaimer out there because the levy for FY23 has already been set
It's done.
in December. That's at 45 as long as Will County comes back and says I was right on my numbers. So you will see a slight increase on that the following year.
And Jack asked to be on the agenda tonight to present the school district referendum, and I know some trustees tonight, Mr. President, wanted to make some comments when you go on.
I mean, if anybody has any questions or comments they'd like to, have for the,
Can I ask you a question? So what, I see
I just
what,
feel.
I see what the board
Yes, sir.
has done. Does the board have any plans, and maybe not the short term, but also long term, after this passes, when hopefully it passes, to not get in this situation again?
So, again, I apologize, I don't like staying in front of you all, I feel bad because you're looking at my backside.
Just the chief.
So, what got us in this predicament was a plethora of things, but in general, what happened was we increased staffing to over $900,000 in a 2-year time span. And so, what this is really doing is trying to make sure that we can maintain that pricing. So what I have done is, tonight, when you look at the board meeting, I put a strategic plan together, it started back in 2019 with Mr. Cox. It's had 58 different members, either the community, the school, school board, and like that. And so I put a 2023 to 2028 plan together. And part of that strategic plan is making sure that we don't do any large scale projects, that we don't look to unnecessarily add in operating costs beyond what, obviously inflation, monitor our spending. I do have a plan to lower that tax rate 5% over the next 5 years, from 535 to, I believe it comes down to 507 at 5%. So those are kind of the things that we do. With the new board, we'll have a new, not a new strategic plan, but we'll have a kind of a board goals where we go forth and say, hey, this is where we're at right now. What is the new board's plan? Because there are going to be up to 4 new members.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
So I'll add a few things that, I hate to make assumptions, but I can only imagine the things that the school district has faced is the same as the villages. We're fortunate enough to have multiple sources of revenue amongst our funds through sales tax, income tax, stuff like that. The school board does not. As we know, for the past, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's probably 8 years, things have been limited to about around a 1.5% increase in your tax levy, no matter what you ask for. You could ask for and have it approved, hold your public hearing and ask for a 10% increase in your tax levy, and you're not gonna get it. The county limited that to about 1.5% on average a year. And I'm sure with inflation, as the village has seen, increase in labor costs, collective bargaining agreements, so on and so forth, the 1.5% increase just does not keep up with where you were at. We've seen it in our funds, and fortunately enough, we have other forms of revenue that we can rely on and work on increasing that, and the school does not. I personally am in favor of it. I think as a village, especially as a village trustee, there's numerous factors that come into play in this, and in my decision, not just as a resident and a parent of 2 students at 200U. This directly affects our property values. And as far as the village goes, these are things we rely on for economic development. These are things we rely on as far as our taxing rates to the residents, because this is something that can directly affect the total EAV, which is what our rates are based off of. That's what our levies are based off of. If the total EAV goes a 180 because, in my opinion, a school district is the #1 thing that dictates a good community, and low crime and amongst other factors, but a good school district is a very important factor in that. And when you start looking at these things, and it can affect our total EAV, which would affect our tax rates to our residents and how the village looks. So again, I fully support it. I'm the one that asked the mayor if there was something we could do in the form of a resolution supporting this as a village. I unfortunately couldn't have been at the last meeting, and I know some of the things that were brought up and were discussed. They were actually in the minutes, where I know, Bob, you asked the question about what do we do with other taxing bodies, ask us for our support on their referendums. And had I been here, I would have had a very easy, simple answer to that, is you take them on a case-by-case basis. And you look at it and you would evaluate it as a village trustee and as a village board as to how it would affect us. and how it would affect the village and how it would affect our constituents. As far as our opinion as to whether or not support it. Anytime you pass a resolution, it actually is it's an opinion, it's a feeling of the board that says, by resolution, we feel that this is what's necessary. I understand the attorney's input on it, so I'm not gonna push it, unfortunately, but, I will come out and I will say that, you know, I, as a trustee, I've been here 12 years, I've seen the highs and lows with the tax rates, I've, you know, came on at the, tip of the recession and where we've been at, and, I know at our, budget workshop, I've actually made a comment as to, the health of our general fund and how that's grown, and that's happened because of numerous factors that, other outside revenue sources outside of property taxes that the school district, doesn't have that luxury of, that the village does, so, that's about it. I think it's important, that we support this, that we do anything we can to help the school district get the word out in support of it, because it is important.
So I did run it past our attorney, and our attorney was pretty clear that we can't do a resolution or anything as a board, but as individuals, you know, we can do what we wish, and I support it. I mean, again, if you have a good school district, you fill the houses, you fill the businesses. My mom lives here, she's 102 years old, and she's a retired Chicago school teacher. And I was trying to explain it to her, and she says, well, what's going on? I got halfway through, she says, it costs money to run a school. That's it. So, you know, I wish you the best of luck.
Question for you, Jack. In the last 10 years, the state has not helped the local school districts. Is that correct? Your state shared revenues have not gone up.
So in general, so yes and no. I mean, it's minimal at best. We saw an increase this past year because of our adequacy target being so low, an increase of $500,000. But when your adequacy target is $6 million short of where it's supposed to be, don't get me wrong, $500,000 is really nice to have in addition to, but it's
not keeping up with expenses.
Yes,
their increases have not kept up.
Yeah, in 5 years, I think the overall EDF towards Beecher's went up a total of $300,000. So I think it was at 1.8 when Mr. Cox first came in here. It's at 2.1 baseline.
So I'll just want to chime in really quick before we move on to, I agree 100% with what the president and Trustee Eichler-Horst have said. As a resident for many years and a graduate of BHS myself, and father of 2 kids that are going through this school system either now or in the future, I see nothing but upsides here. And, you know, like we noted, you know, that's one of the things that draws people to a community. I'd like to keep it that way. So I totally support it.
I'll go on record as well too. I mean, I'm very supportive of the school. What the other trustees had said, I too had a son who graduated from there and one that's still attending. And I don't know if you guys plan on going out and knocking, if the teachers or you guys are gonna go knocking door to door, you know, between now and voting day, you know, please get in touch. We're more than happy to come and assist and knock on doors with you guys.
There's actually a parent committee that does all of that for us. The school obviously can't be too involved with this. We can't tell everybody to vote yes. I do appreciate the support. So I'll gladly pass your name along to Mrs. Diachenko, Ms. Fleckley, and some other members of that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Just to chime off everyone else as well, I definitely, as a graduate of Beecher High School and the oldest of 7 graduates of the Beecher school system, I wholly support this. So, like everyone said, the property taxes and things like that are affected by the school are very important. And, you know, the property values and things like that. So, 100% behind you guys. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Head off the mountain.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank
you're
you so
off
much.
the
Have a
hook.
great night.
Thanks.
Good luck to that.
All right. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the board? Okay. Village clerk's report.
So tax income received in the month of February is $250,164.90. And just a reminder, the dog tag deadline is this Wednesday, March 15th. After that date, prices will increase to $15 per tag. And those that are on the list from last year who haven't purchased their tag will be turned over to the police department to begin enforcement.
Village Commissions, 4th of July Commission, trustee Kraus.
Thank you. Included in your packet today, this is something I asked for at the 4th of July, put together. It's a summary of what they've done in the park. The 4th of July Commission was commissioned in, what was that? Oh, 2001. So again, this is just some of the stuff they did. I asked them to put this together. They put it together. If there's any questions, sure trustee G and I can answer them about this. You're welcome.
I would say more Bob than me.
Someone else besides, how about that? And then the next meeting is the 30th of this month at 6:30 PM here at Village Hall. Do you have anything else, Joe?
Things in full swing, gonna be a good year.
Yes.
Youth Commission, trustee session.
Thank you very much. The Mother Son Dance is scheduled for Saturday, March 25th, from 6:30 to 8:30 PM at the junior high. The registration closes on March 18th and can be done on the village website. Next, Tony's Pizza is hosting a Let's Raise Some Dough fundraiser for the BYC on March 22nd from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. 15% of dine-in or carry-out orders with the associated flyer will be donated to the BYC. And you'll be able to pick up the flyers at a lot of local businesses, I think here at the Village Hall, online, and it'll be sent home in the school folders. So I do encourage everyone to come out and enjoy a slice and help out the BYC, keep putting on events for the kids in town. And finally, the next meeting is Tuesday, the 21st at 7:30 p.m. at the Village Hall. That is all.
All right. Historic Preservation Commission, trustee Kaporis.
Next meeting is this Wednesday, March 15th, and then I'll defer to our clerk, see if she had any updates from anything else other than that.
No.
All right, next meeting is March 15th at 6 p.m. at the depot.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Under my report, we've already done the first two. We need to consider a motion changing the start time of the March 27th board meeting from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be no committee reports, only action items at the beginning of the meeting, followed by the workshop on the budget. Since most of us showed up, I think all of us showed up to the Saturday morning committee workshop for 4 hours, it was felt that we don't need that extra hour since we've already been over it. So would someone like to make a motion changing the start time of the March 27th board meeting from 6 to 7?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
All right, Finance and Administration Committee, trustee Kaporis.
Consider a motion approving the treasurer's report for the month prior. Donna?
The February month-end total of the village accounts, $3,122,383.37. The total of the commission accounts, $307,423.32. All combined, $3,429,806.69. The month end in general, $527,414.04. Excuse me. You can see the report looks a little different. I added a column for the investment of the CDs. And also just of note, First Community Bank did make an adjustment on the interest on our accounts. They upped it by 0.5%, so it's now 1.97%. The commission and non-AP payments for the month of February totaled $288,107.77. Everything pretty standard in there, but of note, 4th of July did purchase the raffle car. Other than that, pretty standard. If no one has any questions, that would end my report.
All right. I'll go ahead and make a motion approving the treasurer's report for the month prior.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second? There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Caprows.
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Variance reports are enclosed for your review. Consider a motion approving the bills and payroll for the previous, or since the last meeting, can't say for the month prior anymore because it's, now that we're doing them, at every meeting. So there is no additions or changes, everybody was provided them in advance. So I'll go ahead and making a motion, to approve the bills in the amount of $77,586.20.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Capros.
Yes. Personnel manual given to the committee for review prior to the village board consideration. Once the committee gives the manual its blessing, we will forward it to the village board for formal consideration by resolution. We'd like to have this project completed by the second meeting in April. I know we got a few little tweaks, but I think those kind of came back and, we'll review it, and I think we'll have it for the next meeting.
Next meeting? Okay, probably the first meeting in April.
Yeah, because we're gonna do budget next time, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Village locks into a 2-year agreement on electric rates for, the water and sewer accounts through Northern Illinois Municipal Electrical Co-op. The current 3-year contract that expires on May 1 through Constellation is at .04425 per kilowatt. The current ComEd rate for large on-demand accounts is between .075 and .080 per kilowatt hour, depending on location. On March 1st, the co-op locked into a 2-year rate of .05678 with Dynegy. Starting on May 1st, electric rates have gone up significantly. We will have to budget a 30% increase for rates in the next year. However, those numbers will remain the same for the second budget cycle in 24-25. We thought long and hard about a 3rd-year price, but the co-op decided to take the lowest rate for 2 years. Bob, did you want to comment on that
Yeah,
at all? Or?
in your packet, you saw the rates. The 1-year rate was higher than the 2-year rate, and the 3-year rate was higher than the 2-year rate. So what that's telling us is they're assuming that in the short term and in the long term, there's gonna be rate fluctuations, but the sweet spot was at 2 years, so we locked in for 2. One nice thing is, for finance committee, we're gonna get one bill for everything. So you're gonna get, 3, 4, 5, the sewer plant could all be broken down, but it'll be on one bill. And Jeanette and I agreed that it'd probably be easier to handle than one bill for each account. With the postal service the way it is, sometimes we lose bills in the mail, so it'll be a lot better to do it that way. But it's the best deal we can get. And I've already made the budget adjustments, you'll see in the workshop.
All right, consider a municipal aggregation of all residential and small accounts for 1 year with MC2, green energy, and a rate of .0759 per kilowatt. NIMAC also proposed another aggregation option using no green energy, since rates were lower for non-green power. The current ComEd rate is .0996 for the same power on village resident electric bills, and this is a variable rate based on supply and demand. Village staff thought long and hard over this and is recommending that we do not aggregate. Residents on their own can determine their own supplier, and rates are so volatile that locking in a rate now may mean that you may be paying more a year from now. I think that kind of goes to what Bob said as far as their recommendation for locking that in for through the co-op. So, does anybody have any input on that, or are we comfortable with just letting it go for right now?
We are gonna re-examine it in 60 to 90 days, when ComEd comes out with their new rates.
Okay.
So right now,
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or concerns on that?
Nope, I agree.
And then lastly, Comcast provides annual report for 2022, and that report is included for your review. That includes my report, Mayor.
Public Buildings and Properties, Parks and Recreation Committee, trustee Genati.
Consider a proposal for the installation of cement pads for the benches, picnic tables, and splash pad extension in the amount of $18,700 from Davison Concrete. Sealed proposals were solicited for a 10 a.m. opening on Tuesday, March 7th, and 3 companies came out and measured the job, but only one proposal was received. This proposal also came in slightly under budget, keeping us on target with the overall project estimate. It is recommended that we move forward with the proposal that is enclosed. So I would like to make a motion for the proposal for the installation of cement pads for the benches, picnic tables, and splash pad extension in the amount of $18,700 from Davison Concrete.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Okay, and then consider a proposal from Pavement Systems, Inc. in the amount of $15,710 to restore disturbed paved areas in Fireman's Park from the lighting project, install a new ramp on either side of the footbridge, and connect the walking path to Hodges Street. This will complete this year's pavement work in the park, and the overall project cost is still below the amount budgeted in the resolution of these projects. See the enclosed proposal. So just to add to that, this was something that after me and Matt ended up going down there, noticing the footbridge on just over on the school district on that side, on the east side of the bridge, although it's still our property, there's a pretty big divot there, and it's all washed out and things like that. So in order to get the bridge to meet level, paving that would have been a good idea. There's also going to be a spot in the path where they got to cross, so taking care of that, as well as along Hodges, at Hodges entrance, there's a section of the path that started breaking down, and a path going out to Hodges that leaves the only sections of the park that weren't paved. So we kind of noticed that, and it still falls within budget, so that's why we kind of brought that. You got anything to add to that, Matt?
Just that area along Hodges is right behind Field 2, if you guys are familiar with what baseball fields are what.
This is like a gravel area, right?
Correct, yeah, and part of the walking path itself.
Yeah, the
that's
walking path's starting to like crumble off right there.
in that general area as well, yeah.
So, and that would kind of finish up everything down there. So, I would like to make a motion, accepting the proposal from Pavement Systems, Inc. in the amount of $15,710 to restore disturbed paved areas in Fireman's Park from the lighting project, install new ramps on either side of the footbridge, and connect the walking path to Hodges Street.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Fireman's Park project updates. There are many wheels in motion, and an update on the HVAC, bridge, lighting, benches and tables, and playground. So,
We have not signed HVAC bid yet, because I don't have a signed grant from the county. But I have an opinion from the lawyer and from the third-party consultant that the grant's been approved. Okay. But I still don't have a signed grant agreement. So I just don't know what to do.
it's a reimbursement grant, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you wanna take that $25,000 risk and get this project done before the 4th, go ahead.
How do those two parties, how do they have information that it's good to go?
Because they're being told it was signed by the county executive, and I
So
don't
being
have,
told, we don't have anything in hand.
I don't have
Okay.
You got, what,
It's
you
been 2 weeks.
you have emails back and forth now? too,
I
right?
can with the executive's office.
I would
can
check
do
with her
that.
office.
Yeah. Cause you have some emails going back and forth that it's like in the mail or,
Yeah,
so.
where is it?
Checks them out.
Yeah.
I'm just cautious about not doing something and getting jacked up. you
Yeah.
know? So, we're still working on it.
Yeah, cause the 4th of July is picking up, I think it's like 2,500 of whatever's left over on that.
They're
so
picking up
it's
the
a
extra.
leftover.
But that's what's going on with HAC, but I'll let Matt talk about the rest of the project.
Bridge.
The bridge project, Public Works began today. The dismantling will be complete with that tomorrow. Irwin Construction is to begin reassembly on Wednesday. Weather permitting, they'll have it done by Friday, March 24th, in hopes of that being completed before Penfield Street Bridge itself closes, so people can obviously still get to and from the schools. What else we got? Sorry, just lost my, the lighting project, that's beginning next Monday. M3 Electric has been down at the park. We've been marking all of our utility lines and things of that nature. All of the poles and lights are at the park at this time. They're supposed to begin assembly of those this Thursday and Friday. The benches and tables will be installed sometime in early May, as the proposal that you just approved from Davis Concrete. They will be installing the concrete pads in sometime in middle to late April. So we'll have to wait for some cure time for that, and then we'll get those benches and tables. They are built, they're in the park, in one of the buildings right now, but we just have to implement the installation of those when the time allows. And the playground for Fireman's Park has been ordered. Its scheduled ship date is April 16th or 17th, and so we'll see how everything else is going at that time, but we'll definitely try to get Fireman's Park up and running before we do our other projects in our other parks that we have. So that's where we're at with it. Everything's moving right along. We're within budget. We're just waiting on Wilton Step is our only outstanding project that we're unsure of at this time.
Thanks, Alright. And then, Project Pickle update?
I met with American Seal Coating last Wednesday and painted everything. Trustee Kraus and I met on site out there. We're not real fond of the current layout. We're trying to come up with a new design to present to them to see how they can make things work, but we're still in the process of that. We're still on track for pavement for that to be done in late April, and then the seal coating to take place sometime in May. So that's all I have on that.
Okay, and then, Wilton Step Park update. We are currently at a crossroads as to how to proceed with this portion of the project due to the widespread in cost of proposals we received. So at this point, we've received 3 different proposals that met out there, and each one, 2 of them came in with like the same description. One of them is just kind of sounds like just taking the baseball fields out and just capping those with dirt. The other 2 are leveling out the entire area. So I'll let Matt elaborate a little more on that.
Yeah, so I've received 3 proposals. I met each one of the companies out there. Went over everything in detail of what we were wanting at the end, the end result, and I've came in at a price of $32,000, $103,000, and $216,000. So we're kind of all over the board, but the 2 upper, the 103 and 216 prices, their details are pretty spot on one another, without having a specific bid spec, I guess, documentation. It's a little difficult to, I can't go out there and say you need to remove 3 inches here and 2 inches there, and, I don't have grading laser equipment to come up with that on our own. So we're kind of at a crossroads as if we want to move forward with one of those proposals. I feel very confident with the 103 proposal. He was very, very knowledgeable, and like I said, his proposal laid out exactly what he was going to do and exactly how many loads of, semi-loads of dirt and things of that nature he was going to be bringing in. The seed rate of, planting and things of that nature. Or we could, and if we were to go that route, we would stay $3,000 over overall ARPA funding. So we wouldn't be taking a lot out of water main or anything like that. Or we could go to Piggish and have them site lay everything out, and obviously that's going to have a cost, and then you run the risk of them. We always say engineers always over-engineer everything, so we run that risk. It just kind of depends on what you guys want to do. I just need some guidance on how to move forward at this point.
I guess the question is, do you feel comfortable awarding what you believe is the lowest compliant bid to Warner Landscaping of Peatone for 104? Or do we come up with a specification and bid the project out? That's the question the board has to ask itself at this point. Now, there's some things we've been playing with. I know that the bid calls for 29 semi-loads of black dirt being hauled into the job site, and we talked about maybe providing that black dirt from the police station site. We're digging a lot of holes out there. Might be some savings there. Because you're planning to do this project in the fall, correct?
Correct, yeah, so all three bids that I've received are for a September seeding. So, that way we get fall rain to get it germinated, spring rains to keep it growing, and then we're not fighting it during the, July and August heat, trying to keep the seed going with, sprinklers or whatnot. Try to use the weather to our advantage, so. The only issue that I would see with using the, police station dirt is when we're actually going to bid and things of that nature with the police department project. Yeah, this is really up to you guys on how to proceed.
When it gets to this kind of money, you get a little skittish. We need help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that lower bid it's not very detailed.
At all.
And just from the conversation I had with Matt, it sounds like they're gonna take the fields out, move the top coat to Fireman's Park, because it's the same
Yeah, that Duraplay.
Duraplay that's on top of the fields at Fireman's Park, and then just kind of cap off the fields themselves, that
Right.
area, and level it out to grade to that area, not so much.
Not so much create a level area for soccer.
Yeah, not
right.
leveling the entire area like the other two were talking about, because man, you said the other two contractors went you out with like topo equipment?
Yeah, oh
and
yeah.
all that,
Mhm.
they lasered it.
Yep.
So,
And that's the $32,000 one you're
the
talking
$32,000
Yeah, it
one, it
was-
sounds like they're gonna take the fields out, move that Duraplay over to Fireman's Park, spread it on the 3 fields at Fireman's Park, and then just kind of fill in the field areas, take down the mounds from the pitcher mounds, and just level everything off and kind of cap it. Not really take care of the whole area, where the other two, it's addressing, leveling the entire area, bringing in all the dirt, so.
How much was the highest bid again?
216? No, 216, yes.
about. And the quantities were the same.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah. And that happened after, because we had to verify for prevailing wage and everything, and that's when the two bids kind of separated way
Yeah,
out.
they were within $700 of one another, and then the prevailing wage issue came into play, and then they went sky high and, separated by hundreds of thousands of dollars, so.
Yeah. 110.
Does that particular bid, so these bids also include, I think we talked about having some sort of structure out there too, or is that just
Nope.
That's
This is
take
just
care of
dirt
the
work.
fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would kind of spend that funding out there, because of how much dirt they gotta bring in and everything like that.
Yeah.
So this 32 is allegedly at prevailing wage also?
Allegedly.
Yeah. It's just, it does not, you're definitely not getting, the other two bids, they're so detailed, it's like, exactly what you're getting. The third one, that low one is just like, take this, move this to Fireman's Park.
It was one piece of paper, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was like,
6 or 7 bullet points.
yeah, take the Duraplay, move it to Fireman's Park and spread it, cap baseball fields.
It seems like even if you did that low one, you're not gonna be in a place where in the future, you could even easily pick back up with improvements over there. You're still gonna be pretty far behind, it seems like.
Yeah.
If you guys are confident in the lowest realistic bid, I'm fine with it. I think it's a company we've worked with before, correct?
It is,
Yeah, and you're confident of their ability, they've done good.
Yeah, I mean, when I met them out there, they're very, very knowledgeable and.
The 103, yeah.
Mhm.
The other one, I just don't think, I saw the bids, it's not very detailed at all, who knows, honestly, I don't know what you get out of it. I'd rather see it go to the park and then, drawings or whatever it is.
Yeah, engineering.
Cause then that's something that we talked in depth about public works use of any kind of outbuilding or anything like that. It's, and then just for example, just to see kind of what they're doing with MYSA and stuff like that, the nets are still even on the soccer, it doesn't even look like they take the nets off the soccer goals, they're all still netted up down in the retention pond right now, so it's not like they're storing those, per se.
I will say,
You can throw
it,
structure on there later, you throw cement pad down there, structure.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
But I will say where MYSA is at currently down in Lions Park on Gould and Miller there, that we did have a structure there. We actually moved it from Fireman's Park to there, and it was just a field house for mice. That's all it was. Everything got destroyed, and it wouldn't be a good, you know, we'd be in the same boat out there. It's surrounded by fields at this point. I don't think a building would be an adequate answer for that area right now.
Yeah, Bob, on this one.
If everyone's in agreement, then I will put on the agenda for the next meeting, waiving the bid requirements and putting the Werner bid on the agenda.
Okay.
That's what you guys wanna do.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then, consider a motion approving a floor plan for the new police station. Enclosed the final draft of the floor plan approved by the police department and the Department of Corrections. If the village board approves, we will go to the next step, which is preparing the bid spec and shop drawings for the building. So I would like to make a motion approving the floor plan for the new police station.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
Is there still bathrooms that are accessible from the fitness room without allowing them access to the secure side of the police department?
Yes, we did go through that.
Yes.
It's just those two unisex ones right there? Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call?
Caprows?
Yes.
Possession?
Yes.
Giannotti?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
So continue discussion on the site plan for the new police station. According to the engineers, the 75-foot of frontage at Dixie Highway cannot be a wet bottom, since it is not wide enough to provide a safety ledge as required by village code, and yet be deep enough to provide for an aquatic environment. We did not know this when we made our decision to go with a wet bottom, and the current design is enclosed for your review. We will discuss this in more detail at the meeting. The original engineer is working on other options, but that's it.
Yeah, this is not what I envisioned when we talked about the water feature. And I just want to make the board aware of it, because the original non-engineer scribble, the site plan actually is pretty close to what we all discussed in concept, originally. The only difference is the pond does not wrap around that car wash because of this issue with the grade and the safety plan, the safety ledge. So what you're gonna have is basically a square pond on the east side of the car wash with open property on the north side of the car wash, 75-foot width. You could do other landscaping features there. I guess you could dig a water feature in there, but it would not have a safety ledge, and it cannot be attached to the detention basin, because it could, in theory, suck somebody into the sewer pipe. I don't know, that's the reason for it. So we would still have to do something with the property to the north of the car wash. But it doesn't have to be wet, it could be another type of architectural feature. Put a berm there. There's other things you could do. But the one thing that the wet basin does do for it, it saves you about 100 to 200 feet of ground, because it doesn't have to be as big as a dry basin. The wet basins are small. If we went with a dry basin, we'd have to push that building anywhere from 100 to 200 feet further to the east. That's what we have to do. But I want to bring it to your attention because it's not what we envisioned, at least what I envisioned. If I envisioned it, chances are some of you envisioned it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm just showing you, this is the site plan with the wet basin, and is the board okay with that? Because we had a long discussion on this, and we had a split vote
Not
on
much
the
you can
last
do about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, but I don't want someone coming back after we start digging and excavating the site, say, well, what the heck was it? There is no.
the other option is go back to dry basin with this one.
Yeah, the one that looks like you drew. It's like your,
That's what it's gonna look like?
no.
this is what it's gonna look like?
No, it's gonna look like this one. This one.
I believe it's more of
It'll look like this one back. There you go.
So just be a,
I mean, it is what it is.
Okay.
it is, yeah. The only other option is to do a dry basin and move the building and do new borings, so.
a, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Not gonna pay to do that.
okay,
So proceed.
got it.
All right, then consider a motion authorizing the village president and clerk to sign an agreement for the donation of land to the village from Jim Van Drunen at the address of 419 South Dixie Highway, having an appraised value of $112,000. The donor gets a tax write-off, and the village obtains this .56 acre commercial parcel, which has been vacant for over 40 years. The village board can decide what it would like to do in the future with this parcel. It is really too small for a practical commercial use, but could be combined in the future with other parcels to the north for a larger commercial venture. In the meantime, it is open space for now. You can see the enclosed material. So I would like to make a motion authorizing the village president and clerk to sign an agreement for the donation of land to the village from Jim Van Drunen at 419 South Dixie Highway, having an appraised value of $112,000.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call?
Kraus?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Giannotti?
Yes.
Possession?
Yes.
Capros?
Yes.
And that concludes my report, sorry.
Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee, trustee Stacy.
Thank you, Mayor. The building department monthly report is enclosed for your review. The agenda for the next meeting will be coming out later this week. And Bob, is there gonna be an extension on that since there was?
No, what happened is, the property owner called and said that the lease agreement that they had with the petitioner for the special use was no longer in effect, and the landowner is not going to be leasing the property to that individual, so we will open the hearing and close the hearing on March 27th. I also was told that Art Van Buren is coming forward with his final plat for Unit 1 of the business park. It's going to be one large lot. He has to be on the agenda. I have not seen the final paperwork on that yet. And I'm hearing rumblings of another possible vape store at the same location, a different list. So the saga might continue there, but they have to start the process over. And that's, PZC will be in a week and a half. It could be a 10-minute meeting, it could be 2 hours, I don't know.
And that's my report, Mayor.
Public Safety Committee, trustee Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. The Police Department's monthly report is enclosed for your review. Chief, anything you'd like to add?
No.
The EMA monthly report is also enclosed. Director, have anything?
No, I have nothing.
Alright, moving along. Code enforcement's in there as well. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get our fire district report in there, so I'll just give it to you verbally. But for February, their call volume by incidents, and this is kind of like rated by the type. So they had 4 calls of a fire structure, 2 vehicle fire calls, 70 emergency medical service incidents, 3 combustible spills, 3 public service assistants, 2 standby at fire stations, and that's kind of like a coverage on box alarms, 6 dispatched calls that were canceled while they were en route to something, 2 wrong locations, didn't find an emergency when they were dispatched to something, and then 6 unintentional system like defaults, and there wasn't a fire. So that's kind of what I wasn't able to put that into the packet. So, but that is what we'll kind of get moving forward with the fire district. That's the report that Chief Falchetti gave. Any questions on that? And also too, I think a lot of their calls of service stuff is actually online. So there's stuff that you wanna see, go to the fire district, and it actually breaks down a lot of the calls too, in case somebody wants to follow. In reference with our staffing and hiring, we met, the police commission met, and we did interviews last week. We'll be going, after we go through this, I'd like to request to go into executive session as to selecting a conditional offer of employment for one of the candidates. In reference with our IGA with the fire department, going to go ahead and ask to pass on that, or table it, and maybe to April's meeting, to be able to give, I know when we were at the fire district, when we met with the trustees there was an opportunity that the mayor or both presidents were going to get in touch and have the opportunity to speak. After speaking with the mayor, I believe it's next week.
Yeah, according to our current IGA, if you get to an impasse where we cannot sort out differences between the two boards, it comes to the head of the fire district and me. So I talked to Trustee Cook today, as a matter of fact, and we have a meeting set up for next week. So she and I are gonna sit together in a room with the IGA, because even if everything continues, there's still, the IGA itself is contradictory. There's a lot of terminology in there that does not belong. We talked about this from the beginning. It needs to be updated no matter what we do. So there is actually one that I had the lawyer draw up that was much smaller in your packet today. But I know I've heard, I talked to Trustee Stacy, he actually had some really good ideas. I'd like to incorporate that. There's a change after I did this one that I thought I want to, change some things also with the process. If you guys have any suggestions for me before I meet with Trustee Cook, we can put everything together. I'm sure the fire district is coming up with changes they'd like made, and we'll sit down. The way the process works after that is she and I get everything together. I'm confident that we're going to be able to come up with something that's workable. Then it goes back to the boards. So once it goes back to the boards, then it's up to you guys, and we take it from there. But this is the way the current IGA is written, that if Armageddon hits and nobody can come up with any kind of a solution, she and I are to sit down and try to work it out.
And Trustee Kolash and I have both been going over a lot of different things within the IGA as well, with the different sections, and
Okay.
been giving back and forth and what that I'll share with you.
Okay, sounds good.
So I got a couple of things that I'd like to comment on with this. Also, can we look into the fact of, obviously, this is a program nobody wants to see at. However, we are at an impasse as to possibly some personality conflicts of the people that are administrating this. Can we look into the possibility of the village contracting our own fire inspector to be able to still maintain yearly inspections, stuff like that? But if we have a personality conflict, or we have a complaint and stuff like that, we can kind of skip the middleman, and the village can address it directly.
We can. I mean, I'd like to kind of work this process through the way it should be worked through, but we can get some quotes on it too.
Give us an
As
idea
I'm-
as to, what our
Some
costs
quotes
would
on
be.
what the cost would be, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, somebody's paying for it, right? Either the taxpayers are paying for it through the fire district or the village.
Or through us. And both sides want to see the inspections continue, so one way or another, the inspections will continue. But, like I said, this part of the process, I'd still like to see this through,
And I know when we were at the meeting too, when we were at the fire district meeting, one of the participant, or somebody, one of the speakers had spoken, talked about, what's the turnover rate going to be from, if they decide not to keep this fire inspector, what is it? And I kind of think that maybe the fire district should, I'm not gonna tell them what to do, but if they could maybe start looking for a second fire inspector, if in the event this way to have two, I don't know.
I know there's companies that provide this too, that have certified fire inspectors. I'm sure you're gonna be paying pretty heavily for that, but you won't know until you ask. Does anybody have any information? Of course, Facebook is Facebook. Everybody's got an opinion on something, and they don't necessarily know all the facts or read it, but everybody's got an opinion. There's a lot coming out about ISO and how if the ISO rating drops, it's gonna cost everybody on their homeowners rates. Did anybody do any research on that, or?
I didn't. I don't know if anybody else did.
Well, homeowners or businesses?
Homeowners. So there were some statements made that if the ISO rating of the fire district drops, that it's gonna cost homeowner insurance raises for the residents.
So the question on Facebook was if we drop the inspections of the businesses,
That it's gonna affect the
then it's
ISO
affect
rating
homeowners
of,
insurance?
for homeowners, yes.
Are
I'm
those-
not
are
sure
those two
how that
correlate?
even, I
Okay,
don't know,
I
but
don't know how we're seeing
I
that,
don't
so
know
I'm
much
asking.
about it.
I don't wanna speak, cause I don't know the exact how it messes with the costs, like.
Gotcha,
We probably have to ask the homeowner's insurance.
yeah.
I call my insurance.
Will anything go down in the last 4 or 5 years we've had it? I mean, that would be, if we don't know if it will go up.
No,
then
and
with my
I
insurance,
yeah,
has
I
it done that?
actually asked a broker about it, because he deals with a bunch of companies, and he said that he thought about 8 years ago, when the ISO rating changed a little bit, he said he thought he saw a decrease across the board for homeowners. He goes, it was extremely tiny, but he says, he thought he saw one, but that was 8 years ago, so,
ISO was just out, and I think they finalized it, we haven't gotten the numbers back, but we should be seeing a number, and I think we did go down one number, which might save businesses a little bit, maybe even residents. But I could get more information for you guys for
yeah,
that.
that would be good, because there was a whole thing about your rates are gonna go up, and,
And there's certain, like State Farm doesn't even go by ISO, but there's a lot of others that do.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
use
State Farm has their own.
And my State Farm agent said it would have absolutely, ISO ratings has absolutely zero effect. But a couple of things I did find interesting on the ISO rating. The ISO rating is, how it's calculated, is 50% of the rating is based on the fire department. The health of the overall fire department is assessed in this category based on the number of departments in the area. ISO looks at firefighter training, number of firefighters, volunteers, maintenance, testing, pumps, crucial equipment. 40% of the rating is also water supply, so 90% is basically department, the health of the actual fire district department, the number of people and stuff in the water supply. ISO evaluates the community based on its water supply during the rating process. The organization looks at certain factors like the number of hydrants in the area, the amount of water available after daily consumption, and whether the community has enough water and water access for the fire department. 10% is then on emergency communication systems. This evaluates how well a fire department receives and responds to emergency calls. Some specific factors that contributed are the emergency call center, number of computer-aided dispatches, facilities in the community, and so forth. This was all given to me by fire chief in another community. Only 5.5%, which is a bonus, which goes into their rating, is community risk reduction. Any extra practices the community develops towards fire prevention and response are recognized in this category. It includes fire safety education, fire prevention techniques, and fire investigation. ISO considers those to be bonus points. So I think the biggest contributing factors are, I'll say it's
Health of the FD.
EastCom, health of the, and water
Dispatching and
supply.
water.
That's the 100% of the ISO rates. And then I also contacted by, at least through State Farm, 96% of their claims are wind and hail. Fire is very, very, very small, minimal, 0%. And that's why they don't even look at the ISO rating as far as within a community to evaluate your premiums. So.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time a couple of years ago analyzing our water system, pressures, flows, remember that?
Yeah, that was just this past summer, yeah.
And we were very afraid we weren't gonna pass it, we actually
did
better
really
than
well.
we thought we would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're waiting on what they're coming back with, but we were very close to moving up another spot. So I know it's only a small,
I'm sure
I'm
sure there's a million other contributing
No, yeah.
factors that the department has.
But you're right, it was like 5% for that, but that little bit could have possibly, drew us back. But you were correct, you're correct.
Yeah, it's the 5.5.
Yeah,
It's
the
5.5 according to him, and those are strictly bonus points on top of that they can possibly earn, of which if there is an inspection process and stuff like that being done, that's still only one portion of those 5.5. It's not like if you have, inspections going on that all of a sudden you gain the 5.5. The 5.5 are bonus points that can be achieved through numerous other things, of which inspections are taken into consideration into that. And also note the fact that, Beecher never had any inspections up until we were able to come to this sort of agreement, so.
And that's why we have improved the numbers since then, and we should be getting that to you guys soon.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of other things, how many people has the department taken on
There's been a lot
since
of
then?
things.
Yeah,
There's
which
been a
is
lot.
50% of that score, right?
That does
So that's
help,
50%, we're talking about an inspection program that is a portion of 5.5 bonus points versus the flat out 50% of the entire rating is manpower, which the fire department has been able to significantly increase over the past 3 years versus the number that it was at. So kudos to the district on increasing that manpower and upping that ISO rating through the hiring of more paramedics and firemen in town, so.
And one other thing I was gonna clear up, and normally, for my last 10 years on the board, I was always on economic development, community relations, so it was always me out there on Facebook. When people started posting things that maybe weren't accurate or they didn't have the entire information, it was always me. I stayed out of this one, even though I know it was blowing up pretty bad on Facebook, because if this had come to a vote, and if it was a tie, I would have to break the tie. So it would be extremely inappropriate for me to get on there and say anything about it, so I just kind of sat back and shut up. But there was a thing made about, a point made about the village making $7,000 on the inspections. And at that meeting that night, the chief said about and he was very specific and correct. He said there's $7,000 in fines on the table. So I think somebody listened to that and went, oh, the village made $7,000, they were posting about it. Have we collected any fines?
No, and actually the fine's $7,500.
7,500, sorry, did I say 75,000? Yeah, sorry,
It's $7,500, it's
$7,500,
a
sorry.
judgment against a certain individual that he hasn't paid the judgment.
Yeah. So we've got attorney's fees and we're sending employees to court every time this thing comes to court, which is multiple
And
times.
so is the
but-
district. we're both-
So is the district, both sides, yeah. But we have not collected any fines or fees or anything else. This is a zero game on this. But I just figured I'd throw that out. Those were, two of the big things that I kept seeing repeated, so.
And, I'm gonna state one more thing that, because it came up numerous times at the last meeting, and I wasn't gonna sit there and argue it, but, this is our meeting now, this is our chance to state our opinions. Is the fact that we heard over and over that, the complaints we've received are voidable, basically, that they're unwarranted, they mean nothing because they're not in writing. I take a lot of offense to that, because the businesses that come to us with these complaints, these are our businesses within our community. And whether or not they're willing to put their name on paper and actually make it a formal complaint about the way they feel as though they were treated, whether or not it makes it significant or not, I think is an absolute slap in the face to every one of us that sit up here at this board, and how serious we take trying to better the lives of our residents and our businesses within this town. So for somebody to say that it's unwarranted and the complaints we've received are invalid because they're not on paper, I know two of them very, very, very well. Very well. And they had, and the other thing was that the only people that complain are the people getting violations. These two people, one is an owner and one is a business, is a manager of the business here. And neither one of them received a single violation in all the years, in all the inspections that were done. And both of them have contacted me after the inspections, complaining about the way they were treated and the attitude and the demeanor of the inspector. Had nothing to do with receiving violations, had nothing to do with costing the business money. And because those two people aren't willing to put it on paper, to think or imply that their opinions and their way they feel as though they were treated means nothing is an absolute slap in the face to all of us that sit up here on this board. So I just wanted to put that out there, I wanted to say it. And I did speak to both of them and asked them if they would put it in writing, and they have absolutely zero interest, because both of them said they're afraid of the ramifications if they did. That's it. Leave it at that.
Anything else? We table, do we make a motion to table that? No, we just don't make a motion to do anything with it. Yeah, so that's gonna be tabled until a future meeting. I'm not sure, so if trustee Cook and I meet next week, if we come up with a nice agreement, et cetera, it's probably gonna go to the attorney first to have something made up, and then it goes back to both boards. It's gonna be a
Because
process.
I think the district meets once a month, fourth Thursday.
Is it once a month you guys meet?
Yeah, once a month, our next one's the 23rd.
So it's gonna be a while.
So it's gonna be a while, by the time we get this, and then both boards have to look at it, and if they're in agreement, accept, a few changes here and there, then it's gonna go back and forth again, so, it's gonna be a little while before we come to a conclusion.
And I have no doubt we'll come up with
I'm sure,
something together.
yeah. All right,
Thank you, that concludes my report.
all righty, Public Works Committee, trustee Kraus.
Thank you. The Public Works, Water Department, Sewer Department monthly reports are enclosed. Water billing register for the first 2 months of the year is also enclosed. Bill to pump ratio is up to 74%, which is better than the 10-year average of 64%, and better than last year's rate of 68.5%. Asset management plan update has been distributed to all the board members, and the committee and public buildings will meet and discuss the plan and recommend any changes or approvals. There's a meeting Tuesday, March 14th at 7 p.m. at the Township Center, Penfield Street homeowners and business. Engineers and village staff will be present to obtain contact information, hand out special parking permits, and explain the project timeline to the residents, and there'll be a Q&A also held. Anybody have any questions about Penfield? I'd like to consider an engineering services agreement with Baxter and Woodman in the amount of $20,000 to obtain all permitting and detour requirements necessary for the bidding of Dixie Highway Water Main Crossover Project. The project has been designed, but we halted work. Have not made any submittals to the IEPA, IDOT, and Will County Highway Department, since these permits only last for a year and we were focused on millage. With the county preparing to issue ARPA grants for water main projects, we believe it is prudent to begin the permit process now, since it may take IDOT up to a year to issue permits. For example, we're still waiting for permits for the block cameras. Funds from water main replacement will be used, and it is recommended we take this to the next step. So I'd like to make a motion, enter an agreement with Baxter and Woodman, the amount of $20,000 to obtain all permitting and detour requirements necessary for the bidding of the Dixie Highway Water Main Crossover Project.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Capros,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes, and that's all.
Okay. Economic Development Community Relations Committee, trustee Session.
Thank you very much. Consider an ordinance extending the moratorium on building permit fees for new residential construction through 2024 at a cost of $1,750 per home. This fee is given directly to Safe Built for plan review and inspection fees, and the village receives no fee to encourage residential development. Please see the enclosed ordinance. So I will make a motion to,
That's the ordinance number.
yeah, well, that's right, ordinance.
That is 1386.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1386, extending the moratorium on building permit fees for new residential construction through 2024 at a cost of $1,750 per home.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
Just one item, Safe Built reserves the right to charge an extra plan review fee if it's gotta go to plan review for a second time. We're running into a lot of problems with contractors submitting prints, but they're so basic, they don't meet the code requirements, so we kick them back with all the comments, they come back, and the second set is still has as much red on it as the first set, and that's probably the most expensive part of building a new structure is the plan review. So if there is a second plan review required, they want to reserve the right to charge for it, and I don't think they're gonna have to. But these are the typical contractors that just try to, no, you design it. No, we're not designers, we're reviewers, you decide what you wanna build and submit the correct plans. So that's the only exception to that rule.
Is that not happening on new residential construction?
Yes. Especially when they submit plans, they're sealed by an architect, but they're 10 years old. Doesn't work.
Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
All right, consider an ordinance extending the historic downtown business district incentive program through December 31st, 2024. This one is also set to expire at the end of the year, and until the TIF is ready to assist in this neighborhood, the incentives to any new businesses or remodeling efforts should be continued. Please see the enclosed ordinance. After that date, the TIF district should be able to assist or leverage some private investment. So I assume ordinance 1387? Okay, I got it. I will make a motion to approve ordinance 1387, extending the historic downtown business district incentive program through December 31st, 2024.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
All right. Any old business to come before the board? Any new business to come before the board? Okay, we need to,
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss hiring employee information for the police department.
okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.